This is the Barbados Today afternoon news for Tuesday, July 11. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Claire Williams. We begin with news that members of trade unions are at this hour on their way to Parliament, where they are expected to present letters to Prime Minister Frendel Stewart and other MPs. The unions are continuing to voice their dissatisfaction with the austerity measures announced by Finance Minister Chris Sinclair in this year's budget. Barbados Today's Ryan Gilks is at the march, which started at Queen's Park, and files this report.
Well, from as early as 9 o'clock this morning, persons started to gather here in Queen's Park. Essentially, the aim of the walk is to persuade the Frendel Stewart administration to rethink the National Social Responsibility Levy and other tax measures that were contained in the budget delivered by the Honourable Chris Sinclair back at the end of May. Now, the route is going to be a very short one. They're leaving Queen's Park, heading to St. Michael's Row, down to Independence Square. There, the procession will end to have the heads of the unions, the BWU, the BSTU, the NUPW, along with the Barbados Union of Teachers, deliver letters to the Prime Minister Frendel Stewart, the opposition leader Mia Motley, and the two independent members of Parliament. That delegations are expected to return and address those gathered. I'm Ryan Jones for Barbados Today.
In other news, 9 people were injured in a 3-vehicle smash-up on Worthing Main Road, Christchurch this morning. The accident occurred at about 7:40. 3 of the victims were taken to hospital by ambulance. However, their injuries were not said to be life-threatening. The accident involved a truck, a route taxi and an SUV, and brought traffic to a crawl as a section of the busy stretch was temporarily closed. It was reopened 2 hours later after the wreckage was removed from the scene. A 20-year-old St. Michael man, Romario Maloney, is due in court today, charged in connection with last Friday's attack on a Christchurch woman and a subsequent carjacking. The incident occurred on Upton Road, St. Michael, in the area of the old BET building. Maloney of Monroe Road, Haggart Hall, has been formally charged with 1 count of robbery and 1 count of assault with intent to rob. He is also facing charges of unlawful possession of cannabis with intent to supply, and trafficking of cannabis. The U.S. Ambassador to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Linda Tagliatella, has told the tourism industry that they should remain vigilant against criminals working to undermine the region's security. Tagliatella issued the advice at a workshop today for members of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association on crimes in the tourism industry. It addresses issues of human trafficking, ATM skimming, and fraudulent documents.
I don't think that there's a specific trend that we have picked up here in Barbados. Those are trends that are probably trending throughout the world. And I think that when we talk about trafficking in persons, there's obviously the opportunity when you have international visitors coming and going, that there's always the possibility that individuals will be either taken by force and forced into trafficking, or people will be brought here to be engaged in trafficking. So showing people what the signs are and how to identify potential victims is very key. When it comes to ATM scams, it's happening all over. I can assure you it's happening in the United States as well as most places in the United States. Again, it goes back to showing people how to identify what is possible and helping to find preventative measures that can be taken. And the last one being false documentation. I have to tell you, with the internet out there and all of the computer technology, being able to generate false documents and to pretend to be someone that you're not is very easy in the world today.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Good morning, Phillips & Company, may I help? Oh, certainly. One moment, please. Miss Phillips? Yeah? There's a lady on the line from the Nation newspaper who would like to speak with you.
The Nation? Will she go on?
Well, they're trying to sell us some ads.
Look, don't make me laugh this morning. Ads in the Nation? They're real expensive, and for 1 year, nobody ain't buying them papers no more. Nobody want to steal news. All here reading Barbados Today online for free. So I tell she thanks for calling, but no thanks. We just advertising Barbados Today, families. Tell she is Barbados Today all the way.
Okay, I'll pass on the message. Ma'am, are you still there? Oh, she put down.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. In news from the region, police in Guyana have identified 4 of the 5 inmates who escaped during Sunday's fire at the Camp Street prison. At least 1 prison officer died after being taken to hospital for treatment when he was attacked by prisoners. The inmates have since been transferred to another correctional facility. We get more in this report from HGP Nightly News.
Police Commissioner Silal Prasad has confirmed that 5 prisoners who escaped from the Georgetown prison on Sunday are still at large. The identities of 4 of the 5 escapees have been confirmed, while the authorities are still to confirm the identity of the 5th person. The 4 escapees identified are Staff Ray Hopkinson Alexander, who was charged for the murder of a businesswoman Siobhan Gordon at 1 Mile Linden during a robbery. Sherwin Nero, also known as Sherwin Moses, aka Catty, charged for killing a soldier. Yuri Varswick, also known as Malcolm Gordon, an ex-policeman who was charged for the murder of Sterling Product security guard Wilfred Stewart and the execution-style killing of GGMC engineer Trevor Abrams. And Mark Royden Durant, also known as Mark Williams, aka Smalley, who was sentenced to death for the Bartica massacre killings. The men are said to be armed and dangerous.
On the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump's son has released an email chain showing he was offered sensitive information on Hillary Clinton by a Russian national. Publicist Rob Goldstone tells Donald Trump Jr. that the information is part of Russia and its government's support for Trump. U.S. officials are currently investigating alleged Russian meddling in the U.S. election. Goldstone had previously denied any knowledge of involvement in the 2016 election by the Russian government. And finally, Russia is threatening to expel about 30 U.S. diplomats and seize U.S. state property. The threat comes after Moscow said it is outrageous that the U.S. has not yet handed back 2 Russian intelligence compounds seized under the Obama administration. We get more in this BBC report.
Well, the headline in today's Izvestia is Moscow is ready to expel American diplomats. The paper quotes a source in the Russian Foreign Ministry as saying that around 30 American diplomats would be expelled and some US diplomatic compounds seized. The reason for this, says the source, is Washington's decision not to return Russian diplomatic compounds which were seized in December of last year. The Putin-Trump talks in Hamburg failed to solve this question. And the source warns that if a compromise isn't found at upcoming US-Russia talks in St. Petersburg, then we, in other words Moscow, would have to take these measures. On the subject of those Putin-Trump talks, Viedomosti today points out that the 2 sides differed in their interpretation of those negotiations. The Russian Foreign Ministry believes that Trump agreed with Putin's version of events regarding Russia not meddling in the American elections. The State Department denied that. And now on to Kommersant, and I think this is a very telling article. It's entitled, Moscow Doesn't Believe the Tweets. Russia has given its opinion of Donald Trump's unexpected comments on cybersecurity. Now, the paper reminds us that on Saturday, Vladimir Putin announced that he and Donald Trump had agreed that they would create a working group on cybersecurity. The following day, Donald Trump goes and tweets that this cannot happen. Now, you'd think the Kremlin would be angry with Washington, but in fact, yesterday, Vladimir Putin's press secretary said that that tweet would not affect Vladimir Putin's trust of Donald Trump.
That's the afternoon news. For more, you can visit our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. You can find us on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also tune into Mix 96.9 FM for more news. I am Mary Claire Williams. Have a good afternoon.